Now, what does earning your ears actually mean, and why are there so many Chris from Orlando cast members out there working at Disney World? If you want to know the answers and much more, check out this video. Welcome back to Earning Your Ears with Christina. My name is obviously Christina, and I created 2 fun videos where I will share 10 fun facts about Disney cast members. Fun, odd, or interesting, but I'll split it up in 2 videos simply because there's so much to know and I wanted you to have all of the details. Now, fact number 1 is the Disney point. Maybe you've seen cast members working on stage and pointing out things by using 2 fingers. Sometimes you'll also see cast members using their whole hand to give you directions. Now, what's the deal with the 2 fingers or the whole hand thing? So there are now 2 theories in regards to the Disney point. Theory number 1 is that there are a couple of cultures in this world that think it's rude pointing with a finger at somebody. For example, here in Germany, we consider it a rude thing to do to just point at somebody by using their finger. Now, Disney probably took things like that into consideration, coming up with the Disney point just because they want to be culturally sensitive to things like that. Now, theory number 2 in regards to the Disney point is that good old Walt Disney himself was actually a smoker, and back in the days when people were still allowed to smoke openly in public, and of course also in the Disney parks and airplanes and other places like that, Walt was seen smoking a lot while at Disneyland, and whenever a guest approached him to ask for directions, he would point out where they needed to go by using his hand, and he had the cigarette between his 2 fingers, so he was always doing the 2-finger point simply to hold on to his cigarette. So some people would say it's probably theory number 2 or theory number 1. It's probably somewhere a mishmash of both theories. The truth is always somewhere in between, but as a matter of fact, Disney cast members are using the Disney point or a whole hand to point out things to guests. Now, also, if you're ever in the Orlando area and you notice somebody in public pointing with 2 fingers or using a whole hand, you probably just caught a cast member in the wild. Point number 2 is the Disney name tag. There you see it. That was my standard name tag I used to wear for a whole year. Now, I know it looks pretty simple, but there's actually a lot going on here. First, every single cast member working on stage had to wear a name tag because it was part of your costume. Now, let's see what we have here. First, you'll see on top over here the Disney World logo or Disney World written out and the castle. Next, the most dominant and obvious thing is my name on it. So depending on if you go by like your first name, your middle name, or maybe your initials, you just have to let Disney know and they'll put whatever you're comfortable with being called on here, of course within reason, but technically you could have also changed or used a different name to go by. Right underneath you'll see Hamburg, Germany, so it's my hometown and my home country because I'm a culture representative and I'm representing Germany. Obviously I had to have my hometown and my home country on it. Now, if you are, for example, a cast member and you're on the college program, it looks a little different. This is gonna be your name tag. A lot of things are still the same, but right down here, you'll have the college that you are representing printed on your name tag since you are on the college program. Now, the next thing you probably will notice right down here are the language pins. So pin number 1 says German in German because Germans are supposed to be able to read it. So now, being a culture representative, obviously I represent Germany and obviously I know how to speak German. Now, I had that language pin put automatically on my name tag. Now, the second language pin here is Russian, written in actual Russian, so people from that part of the world know that I speak Russian and I am comfortable and able to help them with that. Now this language pin, I had to go to costuming and let them know that I grew up bilingual and that I'm able to speak Russian, and I would love to help guests from that part of the world if they have any questions and cannot communicate well in English. Being bilingual or growing up bilingual was reason enough for them to believe me and to put Russian here as a language pin. But sometimes when you want a different language on here, and let's say for example you learned Spanish and French in school, they will schedule somebody to call you who speaks that language as well, and they'll talk to you on the phone for a couple of minutes to make sure that you are actually able to communicate in that specific language and that your skills are good enough to help out guests with anything or assist them. Depending on what language pin you want, Disney has a different procedure to give it to you. So whenever you pass that test, for example, costuming will order you a new name tag. Something you unfortunately don't see on my name tag is an anniversary pin. So whenever you're with the company for at least 1 year, you get a pin that you actually put through your name tag, and after that it goes up in 5-year steps. So if you see somebody with a pin right over here through their name tag, ask them how long they've been with the company. They're probably pretty interesting and fun to talk to because they've been around for a long time. Now another cool person to be talking to is anybody who has a blue name tag. That means they received the Legacy Award, and that is a big thing because receiving a Legacy Award is a very, very big process, and you actually have to be nominated by your fellow cast members for that. So Disney goes through the Legacy Award procedure once a year, and you fellow cast members, your peers, have to be the one to sign you up or nominate you for that. And then after it goes through a long process and with many, many steps where I think they have to shadow you and check out how you work and just who you are, what you do, and why people or your peers think that you're extra magical and that you're a special cast member who goes out of his or her way to create magic for guests. So receiving the Legacy Award is a big thing, and whenever you receive one, your name and your picture will actually be put up at Disney backstage, and I'm pretty sure you receive a certificate and of course the blue name tag, and just it's a cool thing to know that your fellow cast members appreciate you so much, and then Disney also knows that you're an extra valuable special cast member. So congratulations to anybody who has a blue name tag. Speaking of name tags, now point number 3, what's the deal with the whole Chris from Orlando name tag? Now, as mentioned before, you have to wear your name tag as cast member if you want to work on stage with guests. So things sometimes happen and you don't have your name tag on you. So you can go to costuming, they have a couple of spare name tags. Now, Chris from Orlando over time has become the go-to name tag for anybody pretty much, and I'm pretty sure every single costume location has a couple of Chris from Orlando name tags, simply because it's a safe name tag to be wearing for 1 or 2 days for any cast member. Chris being a generic name for either males or females, and also being from Orlando, Florida, in those circumstances while working for Disney World in Orlando, Florida, is nothing really special. So anybody can really wear it because anybody could say something about being or living in Orlando, Florida. Plus, it's probably unlikely that any guests will ask you anything specific about it, simply because they are actually in Orlando, Florida right now, so nobody cares what the weather is like because they know what the weather is like. So that's also a safe place to be from for anybody who has not their name tag on them. Towards the end of my last program, I managed to misplace pretty much every single one of my name tags, and I had to go to costuming and check out a Chris from Orlando name tag. I had the honor of being Chris from Orlando for a couple of days until I found my name tag again. My guests either didn't notice or whenever I was introducing myself, sometimes I just pointed out that this is not my actual name tag, but at least Chris works for me because I respond to that name. But for other people, if you see a couple Chris from Orlando around Disney World working, try and see if they respond to being called Chris. Probably not. And actually, just next time you're in one of the parks, maybe pay attention and see how many Chris from Orlando's you will be spotting within one day. Now, fun fact number 4 is the Disney lingo or the Disney codes that cast members are frequently using. Now, working on stage and being surrounded by guests, sometimes you have to use a special language in order to make sure that the guests don't really know what's going on for a different reason, not to destroy the magic or handle a situation, maybe like a medical one, without causing attention. There are a couple of terms that we use as cast members in order to communicate amongst each other without the guests knowing. Just basic situations like you're outside at the pretzel cart and you really need to use that bathroom, you pick up that radio and you say a specific code so people know that you really need to use the bathroom and somebody needs to come and replace you or help you out so you can go and use it. Or sometimes little kids get sick or people get sick and things happen. So you use a code word through the radio to let them know that we probably need custodial and the bathroom or something like that. But also in general, some security codes that we have. It really depends sometimes on the location you're working at, because if you work in food and beverage, for example, in Germany, we have a couple of different codes. Then, for example, like my roommate at the Mexican pavilion working attractions, they have more security related codes. We have more food and beverage related codes. Sometimes we use international radio lingo like copy that or what's your 20, I believe. So it's kind of fun to come up with all of these or just learn all of these codes. And funny enough, when you are outside of Disney, you actually do use that Disney lingo amongst your fellow cast members because it's just easier and simpler and faster to communicate that way. So you really adapt that language into your daily language vocabulary. Fact number 5 about Disney cast members is their costume. Now, similar to the name tag, you have to wear your full costume while on stage. It has to look the part, so there are specific guidelines and rules how you need to look and what you need to wear working that specific role. So you can go backstage and go to costuming to check out a clean costume every single time before your shift. You can drop your dirty costumes off, or you can just wash it yourself and wear it on your way to work while on the bus or in the car. Every single role has their own costume. For example, if you look at food and beverage at the German pavilion, the ladies had a red dress on, a dirndl, which is from Bavaria, and the guys were wearing actual lederhosen, which is also a Bavarian thing. Definitely not all of Germany, but just the German pavilion in general was inspired by a small town in Bavaria, so Disney went with the Bavarian look. Now, if you look at the merchandise cast members, they, for example, were wearing a black dirndl, and also the guys, they are wearing a regular pants and not lederhosen. Now, so it really depends which work location you're working at, if you're male or female. The only person you don't see wearing a costume are usually our managers, but you can still recognize them wearing a name tag, having a phone somewhere close by, or maybe a radio, and those little pickers to pick up trash while they're going and doing their rounds throughout the park. Alrighty, now that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. if there are some fun facts or odd things you've noticed about cast members that I've not covered in this video, let me know down in the comments below and I'll make sure to respond. Or is there anything you notice specifically that you find super odd or funny about cast members? Just let me know. Give this video a thumbs up in case you liked it, and I would love for you to subscribe and hit the bell button down below so you'll be notified whenever I upload another video. Once again, thank you so much for watching and have a magical day. Bye bye.